Good evening. We're going to call the November 7th meeting to order. We'll have the invocation by Mr. Hart, Commissioner Hart, and Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Wilson. Please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, once again, through your abundant grace and your mercy, you allowed us to come together to conduct this city's business. Lord, we thank you for blessing us to live into this wonderful piece of your creation that we call Ocoee. Lord, I pray you help us to come together in the spirit of unity. And even though we may disagree on the how and the why, let us work together and not be disagreeable. We pray a special prayer over our first responders, our citizens who are serving in the armed forces. We pray a special prayer over the people of in the war over in the Middle East. Lord, we pray that you will be with them. And every shift, every call that our first responders go on, be with them. We thank you for these blessings in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Hart?
Here.
All right, we have a couple proclamations. One of them I'm going to read. One of them is the Day of Remembrance Proclamation. Whereas the city of Ocoee is dedicated to cultural diversity and the ability for all citizens to exercise their right to vote, and whereas the historical record clearly shows that African American residents of West Orange County and around what later became the city of Ocoee were grievously denied their civil rights, their properties, and their very lives in a series of unlawful acts perpetrated by a white mob and governmental officials on November 2nd, 1920. In the following weeks, simply because they tried to vote, as any eligible citizen should be able to do, including such prominent local leaders as Moses Norman and July Perry. And whereas the historical record also reveals that no African American persons resided in the city of Ocoee for the following 60 years, leading to the area being referred to as a sundown city. And whereas the city of Ocoee seeks to express its regret and horror at the events of November 1920, while recognizing the more recent events of local leaders and citizens of all cultures to create a diverse community open to all residents and visitors. And whereas the population of the city is now highly diverse, Sunrise City, with African Americans being a large portion of the population, and whereas the city opposes all efforts to divide its citizens on the basis of color, creed, religion, national origin, culture, or political beliefs, and whereas the city believes that remembering and honoring those individuals who were killed, injured, driven from their homes, and had their property taken from them is a code requirement for ensuring that such acts do not occur again. And whereas the city's Human Relations Diversity Board has developed language for a historical marker describing the events of November 1920 and the city's efforts to change the community culture that allowed and encouraged those atrocities. And whereas the City Commission of the City of Ocoee has the desire and authority to erect such a marker in a public place so that all visitors may recall and consider the events of November 1920 and jointly vow to never allow such a culture divide to exist in the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Ocoee that the city shall erect a suitable historical marker in a public space that will describe the tragic events of November 1920. That November the 2nd shall be declared a day of remembrance for those residents of Ocoee and West Orange County who lost their lives and property through an act of domestic terror, and that any future public cultural event held by the city during the first week of November shall acknowledge the terrible events of November 1920 that sought to disenfranchise a group of citizens and shall emphasize the community's need for cultural diversity. Let it be known that Ocoee shall no longer be the sundown city, but the sunrise city, with the bright light of harmony, justice, and prosperity shining upon all our citizens. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ocoee, Florida, to affix the 7th day of November, 2023. Rusty Johnson, Mayor. All right, the other one we're not reading is the National Apprentice Week. It's been advertised with the city All right. Let's see, staff reports.
Mayor, the only thing I have this evening is staff, along with the representative developer for item 5, would like to pull that until the next
Which
meeting.
one?
Item 5.
Go to the next meeting?
Next meeting, correct.
All right. Any other? That's it?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. All right, public comments. I have some people here on the public comments. Tom Lowry.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Commission, thank you again. I'm just here as a reminder from our last meeting, and that is that on this coming weekend, Saturday, we are hosting, what is going on here? We are hosting a Challenge 22 event in Winter Garden, Post 63 American Legion. The times are 9 o'clock is pre-registration. If anyone wants to do a walk, 2.2 miles, can. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to. There's even going to be some golf carts out there, I'm sure, going to be parading around. 10 o'clock, the official begins. We have band, going to have live music. 11 o'clock, we'll pre-stage the march. And it's not really a march, it's a friendly walk. 11:15, we'll kick off the walk and just have a good time. 3:45, we have the Legion Riders, and they're gonna go on a 22-mile ride. Okay. It's a fundraiser. I'm not embarrassed, I'm not ashamed. I'm standing here with my hands open. But it is for suicide prevention, for not only the veterans, but our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, everyone that's involved, a family member that could have been involved in a tragic traffic accident, anything. We have a workable solution to get people through this. And like I say, it works. So with that, that's really all I have to share this evening. I thank you again. I thank for everyone's attention. And please come on out, because it is it's just a good day. And it's a good time to sort of put our arms around each other and say, hey, how are you doing? And let's get it on. Don't forget, Thursday morning, here in this city, all right, we're celebrating Veterans Day, all right? So I'm sure that I have a following person here that's going to speak to that a little bit more, but I wanted to share that with everyone. I really do. Thank you again. Come on out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jim Moror.
My name's Dr. Jim Moror, Arden Park North. I have 3 quick things to mention. The city manager previously asked me to contact the state representative regarding the signs on 429. That has been done. I've been also informed that the Department of Transportation's been notified. It's even worse now than before. You literally have to follow the signs to Daytona Beach or Tampa to get to either a Ocoee or a Popka. So I strongly encourage the city to contact Department of Transportation. I have the pleasure of being on the chair of the Human Relations Diversity Board, and we had a great meeting last Thursday. We now have a theme to or a subject topic to our meetings. The last one was Veterans Day, and Tom and Tim from Post 63 were there, and Tom, the commander from Ocoee, was there to speak to that. We also wanted to mention to the mayor and commission that one of the major items that we talked about on the HRDB is that none of us are experts in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're asking that the city support us as a top priority to be training in those areas and to get us a trainer as soon as possible so we can continue our efforts. I was proud to say all but one of our members was Saturday at Ocoee Remembrance, and also, as I said, we had a great meeting. The other thing in regard to veterans, Ocoee is having Veterans Day here at 11 o'clock. Please come out, join us. It'll be a lot of fun. As you can see from my hat here, if you love your freedom, thank a vet. So you have an opportunity not only on Thursday here in Ocoee, but Saturday in Winter Garden to go out and thank a vet. Thank you for your time, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Moror. All right, we have another one for Chris Pomo.
Close enough, sir.
I try to get close.
We'll accept any answer. My name is Chris Pomo. I'm from the community of Westmere. In July 18th of this year, I spoke before you, Mayor Johnson, esteemed commissioners, city officials. I'm here again tonight to speak with you. After our last conversation, I was inspired. You inspired me to run for office. I led a pretty strong ethical campaign in my community to try and effect a sea change. I spoke to you last time about tree permits and how I felt there were some irregularities. I felt like you inspired me to try and take actions into my own hands. I led a good campaign. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get it done. I have a lot of props. I want to give a lot of applause to you who regularly campaign. It's not an easy feat. So, but that having been said, I wanted the opportunity to reapproach you and discuss this tree permit topic one final time. In particular, there's one area that I'd like to discuss. As part of a public records request that I did in April of 2023, I received a number of documents, and part of that was an email chain between Dave Ellis from Ellis Property Management and the city permitting technician Brett McFarland. According to this documentation, I noted that there had been 3 lapses in the expiration dates of these permits. In my conversations with Mike Rumer, he told me that these permits weren't being held to a typical standard. I think he said it's not a typical permit and it'll take a long time to facilitate everything. However, I did note there were several pauses in the validity or these permits expired. One thing that I would like to ask the city is, what is your obligation to renew a permit that's been expired since March 5th of this year? Is the city obligated to renew these permits? That would be a question I would have. I also have additional questions related to some irregularities I noted, and I don't know if it's possible or acceptable for me to ask, but I would love a private audience, perhaps with City Manager Frank or Craig Shadracks, just to discuss some of these irregularities and talk in a little more depth about what I've gathered and what I believe I understand. That's all I had to say.
Okay. All right. Hang on a few minutes. We're going to, Commissioner Forster wanted to make a comment.
Yes. I'd like to comment along the lines of the tree removal permits. I'd like to propose that the City Commission consider a ban on blanket permits for tree removal throughout the city, not just Westmere, but throughout the entire city. I don't feel that it's prudent for the city to issue blanket permits with, little or no criteria to them and just deforest any place that we see fit. I think it all should be on a case-by-case basis. It needs to be justified if it's causing damage to the infrastructure or if it's a diseased or dying tree. that would be, acceptable. But just to remove them capriciously, I don't think that that is the proper way to go about it. So I'd like to make a proposal that we adopt a program or adopt a stand that we are not, as a city, going to issue any blanket tree removal permits anymore throughout the entire city. I'd like to make that a motion if I could.
All right, let's have a discussion first. We'll do a motion.
Do you have a discussion first?
Where's Mike? Mike here? Huh? All right, here's the deal. I'm with Commissioner Firstner. I don't know what happened. I guess you had elections again. We were saying we were waiting on to the election.
We did.
As far as I think, we talked about not doing anything until it was over with. Now that it's over with, I think we can go back and start over. I don't see where we have, unless it's a legal answer says we have to go with those. I don't think so. And what I'd rather do is have our staff with the homeowner association come up with the answer for that. I know that we said we'd wait, so I think we've waited. Now's the time not to start out with tearing down 300 trees, or how many are they talking about now, the same amount?
Well, we're still in 125 to 150. I don't have an exact count.
So I think we need to sit down with the homeowner association and some of your reps too. So, Mike, you have any comments on that?
Just to add to what Commissioner Firstner raised, the types of permits that come before the city commission or planning zoning commission based off our code would be size of impervious or number of lots. So maybe something when you have a blanket, so for instance, a subdivision that wants to take out their front entrance landscaping to include trees, it's just, it gets overgrown, they want to redo it. We've done this before, we've facilitated a permit, but it does have a visual impact on the community. Maybe we can do an ordinance for landscape removal of a size that comes back before a planning and zoning and city commission, or just city commission, some sort of an update review. So that's something we can look at.
Is it okay to do the ordinance, the motion?
Well, I think you can direct staff, and I would assist in coming up with this ordinance. And there are all sorts of models that we can look at that other cities have adopted, and come up with something to establish more robust criteria for tree removal. So,
Yes.
I support that coming back on the agenda for discussion. Commissioner Hart and I think both this week and every week, receive lots of calls about trees. I think there's confusion generally, what trees should come down, what trees shouldn't, what trees were required by the city to be planted that are now busting up sidewalks. I'd like to see an overall approach to address trees. And certainly, I think I agree as part of that, blanket permits should be looked at as well. But I'd love to see staff take all of the issues that we know are happening with trees. I've talked to Rob. There's confusion with some of the trees in the easements and what the obligation of the city is for maintenance and trimming. And we've talked about the power lines and they go in and whack the trees. I'd like to look at all of those and come up with a policy and a plan.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. And also, Westmere is one of our older gated communities, and we have many more gated communities now. So I think it's best to get in front of this issue now. Trees, almost for lack of a better term, are part of the family. In my first house, the girls had a tree called Ocoee, and I was going to cut Ocoee down one day, and they had a fit, so I had to keep Ocoee there. So it sounds comical, but it's true. And Ocoee is growing, Ocoee is changing, our neighborhoods are getting older, so we need to get in front of the issue now. This was a good litmus test, the canary in the cage, so we can get in front of this issue and fix it now. So yeah, let's get together. And when we do, let's make sure the HOAs know, so that we don't have to revisit this issue. I always say the worst thing about a mistake is to repeat it. So we can learn from this and not do it again. I commend you for taking a leap of faith. I know how it feels to take a leap of faith. Yeah, but that's change is necessary. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it pays off. So thank you for what you did.
Thank you.
You got comments?
Yeah, maybe I don't understand. Why are we doing this with a gated community? They are responsible for the trees, correct? Why are we
You
getting
have to have
permits?
permits
I'm
to
just
cut down
saying, but
trees.
even in a gated community?
Yeah.
Even within their property?
It's in the right of ways, a lot of them. We went through this
I know we
a
did,
few
and
months
we
ago. I
did.
think one of the simplest things, I think, is they're out, they're expired, those permits. So what we do now is go back to the process, don't issue any till we approve which ones will come out or not come out. So if that's consensus of the commissioners, or we can vote on it, I mean, you know, so that.
Well, I think there was a motion to,
There is a motion, but I didn't
direct
get a
staff.
second yet, so I'm.
I'll second.
Do I, you second it? Commissioner Hart seconded it. So motion made and seconded that we do, I think we need to add the part about no permits are permitted till we go through the process of inspecting the trees with.
Well, I'm sorry, can I clarify? We're just voting to have staff bring back a recommendation.
Recommendations, right.
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 Yeah.
So I understand it, a recommendation by staff and also a moratorium on the issuance of permits until such time as this ordinance is brought forth.
Blanket permit.
Blanket.
The blanket
Blanket
permits.
permits not involving a large-scale site plan or subdivision, because we do have those in process right
All
now.
right. Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Yes. All right?
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Your time is much appreciated.
All right, appreciate it. All right, I asked, is Sharon Cedar? I asked this young lady to come to the meeting tonight, so I want her to explain what she's doing, and then I'll make a couple comments.
Okay. My name is Sharon Sider. I'm the Ocoee High School PTSA Legislative Chair. We are planning a trip to Tallahassee. It's called Rally and Tally. This will be our third year we're doing this. We are requesting a bus sponsored by the city of Ocoee. We have one sponsored by Melissa Bird. We want to make it an inexpensive trip for the students. It's usually $25 a student, but with PTA, it'll be $7. Last year and the year prior, we filled the bus completely, and it was right after COVID, the first year we did it. And these kids, I've seen growth within the second year. They know where they're going, they get around the Capitol. This year I planned a visit to the Chamber and the Senate, and the visit to the House Senate. Also, I have a visit for the Florida Supreme Court with a couple of speakers coming to. I have a retired chief of the Supreme Court coming to speak to the kids. But I would like to have this grow since they've benefited from it, and they're starting to really understand how things work in, Tallahassee and the Capitol and things, and I think it's a good thing for the kids. So I just wanted to introduce
Yeah,
myself.
appreciate that. What I asked, they were asking for $1,800, and I know we have our own fund now, so I was gonna do a check for $500, and what I wanted to do is ask the other commissioners, we could chip in enough that we get them the $1,800 for the other bus. He'll match it. Anybody else?
Me too.
So we got 2,000,
Oh, wow,
all right?
that's great.
So we'll get the checks cut and, check cut, and we'll have Sherry Seaver will call you. Can
Sherry?
you leave a number and a place where you can get a hold of you and where you can pick
Oh,
up?
of
When
course.
is that trip?
The trip is January 30th.
Okay, we got time, so, okay.
So it's a one-day trip. We leave at 4:30, and then we get back at 9:30.
All right, so each of us are gonna take 500 out of our
Oh, I
discretionary fund
appreciate
and
it
give it
so
to you.
much. That is great.
All righty?
Thanks a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
Somebody will get a hold of you,
Okay.
all right? All right, now we're down to the consent agenda. Any comments, anybody? We got number 5 is pulled 2 weeks, till December the 5th. I need a motion for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Include 4.
Yeah?
Did you include 4 in there?
Go.
Yeah.
1 through, we
No, I
want
didn't.
1 through 16, less, minus.
Less 5.
Less
Yeah.
5. I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent agenda with item 5 pulled,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Hart. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right. First reading of ordinance, we have none. Second reading of ordinance, public hearing. Here comes our zoning manager, Ms. Whitfield. After she gets through, you read.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commission. Good evening, everybody. This item is called The Backyard. It's an annexation and an associated rezoning. So the issues before the Commission this evening is the annexation of this property from Orange County to the city of Ocoee, and then rezoning it from County A1, which is the Citrus Rural District, to Ocoee C2 Community Commercial District. So the property is located on the south side of West Road. It's about 50 feet from the Fountains West Boulevard. It's about an acre and a half. It's currently a commercial future land use designation in both the city's comp plan future land use map and the joint planning area agreement future land use map. And while the property is in the Wekiwa study area, it doesn't have any significant protected features like karst features and the soil types that the plan protects. And what the applicant team is proposing to do is an indoor-outdoor restaurant use, but the zoning classification that they're going to is just a regular conventional C2. So this is an aerial of the property and the surrounding areas. This is the current zoning map. It's adjacent to the city on the north side and county on the east and west side. This is the future land use map. The property boundaries. So as I mentioned, because it's a conventional rezoning to C2, there isn't a concept site plan as yet. The rezoning doesn't increase intensity. There are no density allocations. A traffic capacity analysis isn't needed, but a traffic operations analysis will be required when they submit their site plan to make sure that the circulation, both on-site and off-site in the area, are safe. For purposes of the annexation, it does meet the criteria for annexation, so it's serviceable by Ocoee Police, Fire, and Reclaim Services. However, water and sewer will be provided by Orange County Utilities. When the project does come in, it will need to comply with the C2 regulations. The DRC and PCC met on this item, and they considered the item and recommended approval with no conditions. So at this time, staff is also recommending that the City Commission approve the proposed ordinances, one for annexation and one for rezoning from County A1 to C2 for the property located at 2214 West Road. The applicants emailed me earlier this afternoon and said that they're still ill, and they're sparing everybody any illness, so they're not here this evening. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The first is the Annexation Ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real properties containing approximately 1.77 acres located at 2214 West Road, generally on the south side of West Road, beginning approximately 50 feet of Fountains West Boulevard, finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, and the Joint Planning Area Agreement, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent. We're gonna change this with the commission's approval. Let's change that to. I don't want to be repealing inconsistent ordinances that. Any inconsistent ordinance is superseded by this ordinance, if you would please have that. And then providing for an effective date. And then the next is the rezoning ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 Citrus Rural District to City of Ocoee C2, Community Commercial District on certain real property containing approximately 1.77 acres located at 2214 West Road, generally on the south side of West Road, beginning approximately 50 feet of Fountains West Boulevard, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, again, not repealing inconsistent ordinances, but stating that any inconsistent ordinances are superseded by this ordinance, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. And I hope everyone understands why I'm asking for that change. I don't want to be repealing something in a vacuum without knowing what we might be repealing.
All right. I'm going to open the public hearing. Anybody in the public have any comments pertaining to item 17? All right, I'll close it, bring it up to the dais. Any comments from commissioners?
My comment, I'm sure you anticipate what it's going to be, is the traffic study that you mentioned. Explain what that will look like?
So the project, when it comes in, what we have heard from the applicant is that they do want to do like an indoor-outdoor restaurant. There aren't that many of those in the ITE manual to look at as an example. So we've asked them to look at, well, we plan on asking them to look at some of the existing ones, like the ones in Orlando, to see how they operate and the circulation there. We have spoken to the applicant. Duke will not let them share the access way, so we have to let the engineers work out how the Duke's southern driveway and this site's driveway will interact at that intersection. Other than that, I'm not sure yet what the trips are going to be and whether or not there's any additional lanes or anything like that. Because it's a county facility, they may have to design the driveway on site so that parking starts further in, so that there's less queuing on the major arterial. So those are the things that we'll look at in terms of an operations. But the main road itself does have capacity in terms of trips. It's more the function, hopefully creating a situation where people are going to the site, they're going onto the property without queuing onto the main road.
Okay, and I know there's some technical specifications about the number of trips and the time, and the school is only for a short time.
Yes.
Are the hours of operation of this going to be correlated with the hours of the traffic of the school?
What the future owners want to do is something that's like the backyard. So they want to, it's more of an indoor-outdoor restaurant, so there's food trucks, other vendors. So it's more like a restaurant use, where if you go to your friend's house, you sort of hang out all day, kind of thing. In terms of the traffic signal, that's just something that we are still working on with Orange County. They are aware that is a priority for us. We've shared with them the funds that we've raised over the past few years from the other projects, such as the Greens at Forest Lake project, the Magnolia Reserve project, the Arbors. They've all contributed their shares. So the study that was done by Kimley Horn, when Greens came in 2017-18, that study showed a signal dollar amount that is well below what it would cost now at this time. So hopefully the county will just accept that we've raised this much, this is our contribution. When a warrant is done, an analysis is done, then they'll look at the cost of that. So we'll at least have our portion. We do need to look at the fact that when the study was first done in 17-18, there wasn't an anticipation of a southern leg. So now it'll be a four-way approach, or a four-way intersection instead of just a three-way intersection. So that also adds to the cost.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Any more comments?
Does the motion need to be stated that with the corrections you made?
Yes, and the correction is actually only in the title, that in the ordinances themselves, it has the language that I prefer, conflicting ordinances. This ordinance prevails in the event of any inconsistency with all ordinances or parts of ordinances and conflict herewith. So the substance is good, we just missed it in the title. So I would say if you're going to do a motion to approve, that would be with the change in the title, that any inconsistency in other ordinances is superseded.
All right, I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Hart, per the lawyer's definition,
Thank you.
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Kennedy. Any more comments? No more comments, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Public hearing number 18. It's,
Mayor, we have the rezoning.
You have to do the rezoning.
Oh, we didn't vote both of them. That's right, we got to do the rezoning. All right, we need a motion for the rezoning.
Does he have to read it?
You read it? You didn't read
I
it?
already read it. I already read both.
Yeah,
I
you
read
already
both.
read that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Kennedy for the rezoning motion. There's a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hart. Any more comments? No more comments. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, now moving on to 18. 606 Ocoee Apopka Road, Sports Training Facility, large-scale preliminary site plan.
Yes, Mayor. This is, as you said, a large-scale preliminary site plan. It is not done by ordinance. This is a public hearing regarding the preliminary review of a large-scale site plan. The property is located at 606 Ocoee Apopka Road, and what we have proposed here, which is on the west side of Ocoee Apopka Road, north of Palm Drive. This area north of Palm Drive, west of Ocoee Apopka up to Damascus is in the business character area overlay, which has specific requirements to generate commerce, business commerce activity. And we're seeing the fruits of our labor there. This is a over 5-acre parcel. It has a light industrial land use and zoning, but it also has this overlay by ordinance on top of it as well. It's not within Ocoee study area. It's wooded right now. And the proposed project is exactly what we're looking for with regards to this character area. It's a commercial, retail-esque use on Ocoee Apopka Road. What they're proposing with this large-scale site plan is a 52,000 square foot building with an adjacent outside training area, which will be shielded by the Ocoee Apopka Road by the building. And then you have associated parking, stormwater, and there's a ditch to the west of this. There's the proposed use in this 52,000 square foot building is athletic training, gym, and health-related services to becoming and maintaining athletes. There's over 190 parking spaces provided. All of the drive aisles are incorporated. Along Ocoee Apopka Road, they are facilitating additional requirements of the overlay. By number one, they are constructing a 12-foot wide trail, wide walk trail along the frontage of their property. They are putting the additional right-of-way needed for a future 2-lane divided Ocoee Apopka Road. They are providing it in an easement and will be dedicating it to the city of Ocoee. This construction will be tilt wall at its grade height. This is a common construction type that we're seeing due to the speed, cost. So it'll have more jewelry on it once as they add users. Just want to show aspects of this building along Ocoee Apopka Road. What's unique to this property is, and if you look on the south side of this plan, there is a new public road. My little purple area is covering it. But this site is really relying on the site to the south, which has already gone through the preliminary approvals with the city for the 429 East and West. That development's building a new east-west road on its north side, or this property's south side, which this development will have access to. So tonight, we're bringing forward the preliminary plan minus the development agreement, because as of last week, on Friday, the attorneys with the city and the applicants and the other partners were all working together to schedule and put down on the development agreement how all the development scenarios will go. Off-site utilities have to be run to this site, and the new road has to be put in place. But we have a very important development. This will be similar to the Vermeer building, which was the first one on Ocoee Popka Road, in this character area to come in and establish the vision. And this is going to be a really dynamic use for the area and really start to change and get people understanding what's important next to it, what's important behind it. And so with that, this is not an ordinance. It is a public hearing, and the applicants and their engineer are present, if you have any questions.
All right, you don't have anything to read. So I'm gonna open the public hearing. If you want, the applicant wants to have anything to comment, and say anything? Okay. Anybody in the public have any comments? Fill out a form. It's got 3 minutes. Or 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I'm sorry, on the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. My name is Chris Atkins. I live at 606 Ridgefield Avenue here in Ocoee, Florida, 23-year residence. I was just curious, is this a small portion of the Montier development, large site?
Nothing to do with Montier.
Does it border on the south side there, on that area there?
The Montier is on the east side of Ocoee Popka, south of Fuller's, so it's a separated.
Excellent, perfect. So I'm glad that I brought that up because Montier actually is also a sports facility. And about a year ago in December, they proposed that they were going to break ground on this facility on Ocoee Popka Road. It's public knowledge. And I was just curious if we have got any updates on whether or not they were going to do that. The reason I ask is not that I'm not in support of it. They presented that they would provide the infrastructure on Ocoee Popka Road as part of that development. And one thing that's important to me as a citizen, when my taxpaying dollars are used, is if the city agrees to developers to provide a particular project, that they stay on time and they do as they say. The most important thing in that area, with 1 million square feet of warehouse commercial development that's already completed, with this going in, and then you add them, if we haven't done anything on Ocoee Popka Road, it's a very dangerous 2-lane road with a 6-foot ditch on either side. I would like to be sure that we really address the Ocoee Popka Road infrastructure there before we continue to put on Ocoee Popka Road. Does anybody know anything about Montier? Are they breaking ground?
This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so for this site, we can't talk about other projects based off that. But what I will tell you is this project is providing the right-of-way necessary for a future 4-laning of Ocoee Popka Road. The development to the south is also providing that same right-of-way, and they're also constructing an east and west road, which will go to Pine Street. Similar to what was done with the McCraney property to the north. We'll have 2 new east-west right-of-ways that'll go from Ocoee Popka to Pine Street to create future blocks, future access points, not having to use Ocoee Popka. And they're both constructing the 12-foot trail. So what does that do? That provides other means of getting to the site other than the car. You can do walking and bicycle. So we've got the right-of-way, we got the trail, and we have a new east-west public road.
Oh, I appreciate that. Respectfully, I do value that we put a trail in there, but the issue on that road is definitely traffic and cars, automobiles, large 18-wheelers utilizing the warehouse facilities on the west side of Ocoee Popka Road. So I hear that you have a right-of-way that they are giving you as part of this preliminary plan for future development into a 4-way lane. What is the date that maybe that project is going to be put in place, and is that tied to Montier as part of that expansion of Ocoee Popka Road? My only main reason about this is I don't know if you've ever driven on that road, and I'm sure you have. There's about a 6-inch or 8-inch drop off of a 2-lane road. The next thing to you, 5 lanes, 5 feet to the right or 5 feet to the left, heading north or south, is a ditch 6 feet deep. Now, everyone knows that. I've lived here a long time. And if we're going to continue to develop that old property in that area, which we've agreed to with some of these developers, in addition to this, we must make sure that that infrastructure is done. It is dangerous, in my opinion. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, Stephen Tilton.
First to address, I'm Stephen Tilton. I live at 2825 Alderberry Boulevard. To address your comments about the road, I think it's a county-maintained road, and so that's not necessarily something you guys deal with. Personally, I think it's a great project. It's something I would like to see here. I'm just curious, what revenue, if any, is it going to generate for the city, and who's going to pay for the development? Perhaps that's part of the development plan that we're not necessarily discussing here. I'm not sure, because you said
The revenue from the regional sports complex?
Right, so is this going to generate additional taxpayer liability?
Are you talking about this development, the
Precisely.
606? it'll just generate tax base from vacant land to whatever the value of the 50,000 square foot. So it'll just be regular tax base. This is not tied to the regional sports facility that has its own set of financial obligations.
Okay, so who's going to pay to construct the facility?
Whoever's building it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if this was an expansion of our Parks and Recreation development stuff. Okay.
No, this is a
Thank you.
private developer doing that. Yeah, they're back there.
Hey, well, we'll probably see you there when you guys get it all built. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Gonna close the public hearing and bring it back up to the dais. Anybody have any comments? Not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Wilson votes to approve item number 18, 606 Ocoee Park Road. Here, a second.
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Hart. All right, no more comments, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we're gonna take a 3-minute break. 3-minute break.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Three.
3. Okay, 3 minutes.
Yeah, put 3 minutes on the clock. Oh. Did you get my, here, I'm gonna come over here.
I have to wear a coat.
We get a little hairy here. You know who's here?
We're not supposed to have one. Three minutes is it. I mean, yeah. All right. They don't have any fun. Yeah, he don't have that on. Where?
I don't want any. I don't want any. It doesn't.
Okay, that's all right. You set the timer?
I'm back. I'm back.
Time's up.
Time. I never knew you were so punctual, Rusty. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this over.
Well, probably let Rob start, and I think Commissioner Kennedy had a question about it.
All right.
What time is it? I tell you. 7:05. Okay.
All right.
Regular agenda, is that what we're up
We'll
to?
start the meeting back for November 7th. I'm going to the regular agenda. Item number 19 will be the discussion between the city commission and the city attorney regarding the evaluation of the qualifications of candidates for election and the roles of the city commission per the city's charter. City Manager Frank.
Thank you, Mayor. I was asked to bring this item forward to you all this weekend in order to address some of the discussions that you've all had earlier about some qualification for the office of City Commission. The qualifying period will start prior to the next meeting in anticipation of I guess there were some possible rules that we had talked about at one point of clarifying. That was never done. So we wanted to have this clarified for the city clerk prior to the qualifying period, like I said, which will start before we meet again. And with that, the city attorney and I, if you have any specific questions, be glad to assist you in that.
All right. Yep.
Perfect. So as we've discussed and through various meetings, including the charter review issues, there's basically 3 or 4 areas of qualifications, and the question of, I'll use the background checks. Say we have background checks, what does the city clerk do with them? And the obligation, as I understand it in the charter, for the commission to be the determinant of the qualifications of candidates. And we don't have a process or a procedure to force that to come before the commission. In my own election, I had an issue that I thought probably the commission should have been forced to speak about. Commissioner Firstner had a candidate that I also thought the commission should have had a role in speaking about. And there's been the question brought up, a lot of people have said that we just put it out there, some candidates shouldn't be allowed to run for a seat they vacated to run for another office. So I think all of those issues, I think it's better if we talk about it, if we address it, and we see what the charter says, and we abide by the rules. So I wanted to see that come before the commission and have the commission speak and get your opinion.
All right, do you need to read?
Well, I can first let me address the issue of background checks. And the Charter Review Commission has proposed language that would basically, when you qualify for office, you fill out the paperwork, you would consent to a background check. And so that will be before the voters in spring 2024. And you know, if you know, you all could probably act within your existing authority if you wanted to direct the drafting of an ordinance to provide for that. It cannot obviously be done before qualifying in December, but I think you already have such authority to make that a requirement. The other issue is it was brought to, or the question was asked to me during the Charter Review Commission proceedings, whether a candidate who has vacated an office can run to, let me back up. So when a candidate vacates an office, this commission then appoints an interim commissioner if there's a general election within a year, which is the case here, or if not, then a special election would be called. Okay, so that's the interim commissioner. And then there's language in C-17 of the charter, the existing charter, that says that when you have that election within a year, The successor to the office of commissioner shall be elected at the next general city election if such election is to be held within 12 months of the vacancy, and that's what's happening with the District 1 seat. And then it goes on to say that the successor shall serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy. And so the question that was presented to me during the Charter Review Commissions, well, could that be the same person? And my impression in looking at it, and as city attorney, I'm obligated to give you legal opinions on any city business. And in my capacity before the Charter Review Commission was as special counsel. And so I also gave my opinion that I believed that language was referring to two different people. So let me read it again. The successor shall serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy. So that was my impression. Then I went to Black's Law Dictionary. Okay, I wanted to find out, well, what is a successor? Because successor has a legal meaning. It's a legal term of art that, I think everyone on this commission, have had many opportunities over your careers to read contracts, not only official contracts of the city, but in your personal lives, where you'll see language referring to successors and assigns. It's very common in a contract. And whenever I've seen that language, I've always interpreted the word successor to mean someone who succeeds you. It's a different person or entity. And so the definition of successor in Black's Law Dictionary is a person who succeeds to the office, rights, responsibilities, or place of another, one who replaces or follows another. And so again, looking again at the language of C-17, the successor shall serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy. That would lead me to the conclusion that that is referring to two different people, and that the successor would not be the one who created the vacancy. But that's how I view it. But the judge of that ultimately is all of you. And so under C-10 of the charter, it states the city commission shall be the judge of the election and qualifications of its members. So you all get to make the final call on that, and you are free to disagree with how I view it. It's really your prerogative. I would also point out that decisions made, this is again quoting from the charter, decisions made by the city commission under this section shall be subject to review by the courts. So if someone disagrees with your interpretation, there could be some legal action that comes out of that. So I wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay. Commissioners? Anybody else comments?
Public comments?
What? I didn't call for public.
Anybody else? I'm sorry, you said commissioners or anybody else? I was just going by what it said.
We're going to finish up here first.
Oh, no worries. Yeah.
The residency requirement, is that currently a qualification? I skipped that part.
It is not a very robust residency requirement, as I recall it.
But the commission would vote on that as well?
The Charter Review Commission is extending the residency requirement to a year. And I cannot remember what it is currently at 90 days or something.
Okay.
So that will be before the voters in the spring to extend it to 1 year before you can run for either commissioner or mayor.
I guess what I'm really trying to get to is, what is the procedure for somebody to challenge the qualifications of a candidate and for the commission to decide that, or not? How would that work?
Well, that's a very good question, and again, if you were to direct us to draft up an ordinance, we could come up with procedures, but even without detailed procedures, you all have an existing right as commissioners to be the judge of qualifications of elections and of qualifications to hold your offices. So you do have existing power to make such determinations as of now.
Anyone else have a question?
So we could require, I'm going to feed off of what Mr. Kennedy just said, that even though the amendment is coming to the voters in March, the changes for the charter, proposed changes for the charter, if someone appears, I think what you were asking is if someone appears who has been here less than a year, we could actually say right now that we want that year prior
No.
to the,
No,
Okay.
no, that is that year residency is not in the charter right now. That is not a qualification that you are able to enforce currently. If the voters approve of that this coming March, then afterwards, if someone were to run for office and not establish residency a year beforehand, then you would have an ability to make a determination that that person is unqualified to run for office, to hold the office of commissioner or mayor.
So what's confusing to me, reading section C10,
Get there.
is it says the city commission shall be the judge of the election and qualifications of its members and of the grounds for forfeiture of their office. And then it has a procedure, it goes on to describe a procedure for the last part. A member charged with conduct constituting grounds for forfeiture. But it doesn't address what does it mean that the city commission shall be the judge of the election and the qualifications of its members. Does that implicitly create the power of this commission to disqualify a candidate or to claim that a candidate is ineligible for office?
I would say that it is not implicit, it is actually explicit. It is explicit here. And your rights under the charter include subpoenaing witnesses, administering oaths, and requiring the production of evidence. So you do have the ability, if you wish to exercise it, to even have an evidentiary hearing. Or you can certainly be the judge, just based on what you know.
What is, one of the things in the last election, I think only Commissioner Wilson was not running or not involved, and obviously that would put her in a difficult position to say, hey, I want to make a motion that 2 of the 3 candidates aren't qualified. Can any member of the public, can any citizen charge that a candidate should be ineligible, and can that force a vote of the commission? What's the procedural mechanism?
Yeah, certainly any citizen has a right to petition any of you as city commissioners for you to make a determination that a candidate is not qualified to run and hold the respective office. So it can come from citizens, but ultimately, you all are the judge of that.
She could have done that unilaterally.
I'm sorry, who's she? I'm sorry?
Commissioner Wilson.
She
was the only one not running.
Well, even if you're running, you're not necessarily disqualified.
Nope.
Okay.
Because there may be a public gain or loss if you lose an election or you win an election, but conflicts of interest pertain to private gains or losses.
Okay.
So that's something else to keep in mind. You're not suddenly disqualified from judging the matter.
You mentioned the qualifying period that's coming, and your opinion. Has former Commissioner Oliver qualified, or?
There is no qualification yet. It's not until the first week of December. So
What has to be done?
Would it, I'm still confused how that would look. What would a hypothetical be if a candidate attempted to qualify and later the commission voted that they were ineligible?
well, the commission could make a determination as to a particular candidate's qualifications for whatever reason under the charter, and could direct staff to omit a name from the ballot. You know, you have that kind of authority, and you can certainly direct the city clerk to receive. I mean, in her ministerial role, she's just accepting paperwork. You can
Right.
direct her to you know, take certain actions or not take certain actions. There are any number of permutations that you could take. But it all comes from, you know, the typical ways that you conduct business here, you know, by making motions and
Well,
voting.
it bothers me that I've had people come to me on all three of those issues and say, this candidate, in all three instances, this candidate shouldn't be allowed to run. And to me, there's no mechanism, or there hasn't been. I guess historically, the commission has never exercised that authority to review qualifications, or do you know the history of that?
But you're talking about two or three different things.
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about one for qualifications under then there's two other items you're talking about. Those two other ones are under the charter revision. That's gonna be on the charter revision vote. The other part of the charter didn't get changed under the statement of what it said under C-17. That didn't get
Correct.
changed, or it has to be changed by the charter commission. So.
Yeah, and there have been no changes or proposed changes to the language that I was
The
reading
other
in
one
C-17.
about the, sign in the paper to get, you know, check your background, that's under the charter change. And what's the other one is about a year's, being here a year instead of a day or a night or the day before.
Yeah, but that was just making it tighter.
Yeah.
It still
Those
said
are
you had to
gonna
be a
taken
resident.
care of in the charter revision.
Okay.
The other issue is what it says in the charter about who replaces who. And it says, what you're saying is, it can't be done by the person that withdrew or dropped out.
The successor shall serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy. So who is the successor?
Mr. Hart.
Well, Mr. Hart is the interim commissioner. That is a different, that's a different role than the successor.
He's not the successor.
No.
Correct.
He is just, we placed him as kind of a place guard. He was placed in that
So
position.
other people can run for it, but the one that dropped out, but what that says can't.
So what would we do? We'd wait for the qualification period to end, and then we would vote?
No, because then you gotta qualify, then you gotta go through that process. That's why they brought it here tonight.
So do we want to vote now?
You do have to vote now, tonight.
Qualifying is what, the first week of,
Yeah,
starts
'cause
the
it
sixth?
changed from January to December.
So is it December, December 4th, is that qualifying? What's the qualifying period?
It begins noon December 1st, and it ends noon December 8th.
I have a question. Is there any past precedent in the city on successorship to vacated positions? Does anyone know?
I know that when I separated from it, I did run for that seat again. This,
When you separated, when you ran for mayor,
yeah,
you
I gave up my seat,
gave up your seat, correct?
yeah. By what that said, I didn't know it.
You you had signed that form that you.
Yeah,
Right, correct.
yep.
So I'm not finishing a sentence, please.
So if you want to go by the charter, what the charter says, and then you take the consequences of whatever happens, you know, you do what you're saying, right?
You're
Yeah.
at liberty to agree or disagree with me.
The unexpired term is until March of
2024.
25, correct?
Yes.
March
24.
of 24 to March
24.
of 25. That would be the expired
Yeah,
term is at 1 year,
Yeah, the unexpired term.
unexpired.
And then after 2025, you know, anyone can run. There's no limit on who
Correct.
who would be qualified at that point.
So do we need to, that's what it says already.
Correct?
So do we need to take action, or is that just the rule? Is it?
It is, you know, any action is up to you. Any direction you may or may not give to the city clerk is really up to you.
We do not have another meeting before December the 5th, so qualifications start on the 1st. So. And that, I don't know if we're gonna do yet or not, so let's finish this up here, because, well, you know, so, but what the charter says is what we're looking at, not the item, the two items that's gonna be on the, charter.
Got it.
revision.
Okay, just the one.
You gotta decide if you wanna go with this C-17, C-17. That's the issue. That was brought up by a citizen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in the charter, so we gotta decide if we're gonna go with the charter or not. Before we start.
Do we know, do you intend to run? Do we know if he intends to run?
I don't know if it really, I don't think that's the question right now. The question is interpreting what the charter says. I think that's our direction, is to go with what the direction the charter says versus if someone's gonna be running or not.
Mr. Mayor?
Would you wait till we get through?
Mr. Mayor?
I know.
If you vote, there would be public comments. So I was just
What,
asking
for,
yes or no?
I'm not gonna answer you again. I already told you once, wait till we get through. I will call for it if I have, and I really don't have to have comments under this, but I will.
I think it's very pertinent.
Will you listen to what I'm saying?
I will.
Well, please, just, I said, when I get to it, I will.
Okay, thank you.
If you listen, I also don't have to.
I would, no,
All right?
certainly will, so-
You ask me again, I might not,
You will not hear another peep from me, sir.
okay? But so we need to, if the,
He meant to speak.
Yep. Yeah, I'm of the position that we're going to let the voters decide, in my opinion. It's close to time. We've already postponed it once. The people know everything that happened, and I would hate the city to get tied up in litigation. That's my viewpoint. Moving forward, I would think it's a good idea that it's put in place, but right now, being that we're so close, I would like to just see us go through and let the voters decide who sits in this seat. This seat is an honor. This seat belongs to the people. And I've had the privilege to sit in this seat for a period of time, and I have much respect for this seat. I do think there changes do need to be made, but I want to make sure the people, I have 4 bosses at home, one I'm sitting right there, but sitting in this seat, I have 8,000 bosses, and I want my bosses to make this decision, so thank you.
anybody else? No more comments?
I agree partly with Commissioner Wilson that while I respect Commissioner Hart's statement, I just want to do what the charter says. And if the charter says that, then the charter says that. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just a matter of reading and executing the charter to me.
Well, What I would say is, if we're gonna change everything in the charter, you better be changing that when you had that under revision. But that's not changed, it's there. So if the thing says that's what we're supposed to go by the charter, then we need to go by the charter. If we don't wanna do that, just because, the citizens are gonna make a decision anyway, they already made it, so, you know. I'm just saying, if the charter, so, Commissioner First, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. You wanna wait? I'm just saying that it's the charter, so whatever you wanna do. You don't wanna go by the charter, that's fine.
I'm always one that says you live by the charter. And we have to, you know, again, it's important that we live by the charter.
That's what it is.
But again, are we, if we're gonna hear comments,
Yeah, let's hear comment.
Huh?
Let's hear
I
comment.
welcome
I'm
comments.
not gonna be here all night,
I
because
would
we're not even supposed to do these comments now, so I'm gonna do them.
3
Of
minutes,
course,
right? 3 minutes?
3 minutes is all it is. So Vivian Johnson. You put on your form you filled out, you wanted to talk about the boards, the charter boards. You said charter boards, but yeah. 3 minutes, okay, let's go.
Can you turn it on?
Turn it on.
Please, I'm sorry. Just push the button. Thank you. I'd like to hear you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening to the board. It's very interesting, the comments that are being made tonight about we got to follow the charter, because I think I was here when there was some discussion about when to hold the election, and there was an interpretation about the charter, and we did something totally different than we had in the charter. I'm also bothered by the fact that I live in a country where qualifications for president has never come up, even when probably this is the time we should be talking about that, but we're not talking about it. I live in a country where the governor of a state decided he's going to run for office, and the legislature decided he should be able to return to his office, even though everywhere else they want to do what you're doing. I'm bothered by the interpretation that successor doesn't mean who the citizens voted as the successor, not the commission deciding that we already are going to pick who the successor is. I live in this district. I've already been put upon with my vote by the change in when the election is being held and an interim person being put in position. So I am really against this whole interpretation by the dictionary of a successor. Successor is who we, the citizens, vote. Anybody should be able to run for office. And we'll make that decision if they don't qualify. We are intelligent citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Steve Tilton?
Yes, hello. Thank you for your time. So my question is about the interpretation of interim commissioner, because successor seems like someone who comes after, but because the word interim is in front of commissioner, we're not going to count that as a successor. He's in the seat right now, despite only getting 3 votes. 3 votes or 4 votes, none of which were from people who reside in District 4. So, you know, he's in the seat now. It would make sense, based on the way you're wanting to interpret it, that Atkins Hart would hold the seat the entire time. But I think that conflicts with another part of the commission where you got to hold a special election. It seems like also, I'll say, selective interpretation, because we had a city attorney here who gave an interpretation that we needed to have a special election, and that was his interpretation of the charter. We didn't like that city attorney. We made that clear to him. He read the writing on the wall and laughed. And so now we have a choice here. Can we, or should we, I think is really the question. As a legislative body or quasi-legislative body, I'm not technically sure, not the state level, but you guys can do whatever you want. It's up to the judiciary to check or balance what you guys choose here today. And there's one choice that I think, as Addis Hart says, presents increased risk of litigation. I think that's what will happen. And as a resident of District 4, I'd like to choose. I'd like to vote. I would have liked to vote in July, but can't, didn't get that opportunity. With regard to qualification, I think all of your concerns, as she said, citizens are intelligent, and they saw through everything we were talking about here. We had a great forum, and honestly doesn't even need the existence of Ocoee votes if we're going to have forums like that, an opportunity for everybody to share. But I'd like to vote, and I think it comes back to, can we? Sure. I think you could find a way to, if all you guys agree, if all you gentlemen and ladies agree, you can do whatever you want. It's just whether or not you're going to have to litigate it. I'm sure you can find another attorney, too, to interpret it any way you'd like. I really appreciate all of you that serve and what you do and reading the packets and coming up here. It's not easy, and you're going to take actions that are going to make people unhappy sometimes. You can't make everyone happy. I understand. But as a citizen of District 4, I think we have the right to choose, and I hope you give us that opportunity. Thank you.
You will, one way or the other. Chris Atkins.
Well, Mr. Atkins, may I make a statement?
Yeah.
Mayor, and I have not spoken with any member on this commission about my interpretation. My interpretation is my interpretation.
Chris Atkins, 606 Ridgefield Avenue. When we talk about interpretation, that's exactly what it is. I've heard quite a few times that we should go by what the charter says, but yet even the attorney says it's an interpretation. So it's really not factual if you say that's specifically what their charter says. And it's ironic that we pick and choose sometimes what their charter says. I was curious, Mr. Geller, what does it say in the charter currently about the residency of the city manager? So when we pick and choose what we do in a charter, that's unacceptable.
I can speak
to
that, Mayor.
Let me address something here.
I can speak to that,
If you could
because
stop the
obviously
time-
I
if you
know
could
what
stop
it
the time,
says.
please, that'd be great. You can
talking
respond,
about-
but not on my time.
Calm down.
I'm taking,
No,
your
no,
time's
just-
ticking, keep talking.
Okay, well, perfect. So, Mr. Kennedy, I value you, sir. You won against somebody who shouldn't have run. The citizens made that decision, and you were the successor. Mr. Firstner, you won an election where the citizens voted for you against somebody who shouldn't have been winning, shouldn't have been running, but the citizens got to make that decision. I respect what the citizens did in both that because their choices was right, in my opinion. See, we underestimate what the taxpayers and the citizens will actually vote on. And this seems like a way to try to act like they don't know what they're doing. Mayor, respectfully, you ran an election, right? You won the election against myself.
I also resigned one time and didn't run again.
And you were the successor to your own position. See, at the end of the day, you succeed after you've been chosen.
No, I wasn't.
That's not true.
Really?
No.
Did you
Let-
hold the
finish-
position prior of
fin-
office and then
finish your
succeed the
time's
same
ticking.
position?
Your time's
I have a
ticking.
minute, 13 seconds. I'm not
No,
done.
all right. I know, I said finish.
You held the position of mayor.
Yeah.
You ran
No.
for office. You won again, which means you were the successor to the position you held prior. What would make this any different? Now no, this is my time, right? You guys keep talking about time.
Go ahead.
The biggest problem that I have is that this seems to be more personal than anything. Because I heard right out of one of the commissioners' mouth say, well, is he going to run or not? Does that mean that's going to decide your decision? There's no precedent set here. But let me tell you something that's glaring obvious. We had a charter review commission right here. And Mr. Geller, respectfully, if it was brought up in that commission, it should have been brought to this commission prior to today, 1 week or 2 weeks before we're allowed to go ahead and actually petition to vote, or to run for office, to qualify. So if this came up in the Charter Review Commission, and it came up before here where you guys can make the decisions, and you chose for 2 of these rules, right? Whether or not you're here for residency, right? whether or not you should have a background check, but you forgot whether or not you should address that somebody who succeeds a position they vacated with
Right.
no precedent hasn't been addressed until today, 2
Thank
weeks
you.
prior. I rest my case.
Thank
It's,
you.
it's a joke.
Thank you. The thing about it, what you got to understand is, voters will have their choice.
Not if you take it
Well,
out of their
don't,
hands.
sit down.
Not if you take it out of their
No,
hands.
no, we're not taking it out of their hands. Come 2025, that person can run again for that slot. It says in the charter, which that, will you let me finish now? You know, I haven't seen you in 8 months, so, you know, just calm down. Just calm down. If you keep talking, I'm gonna have them take you out there. Okay? You talked. All right. If you want to talk about the citizens will get to vote. In March 2025, that seat comes up again. This is just finishing it. This charter is what we're supposed to go by, whether it be Commissioner Oliver or Commissioner Kennedy or anybody. The charter says what it says, and that's exactly what you're supposed to go by. And that has nothing to do with who votes and who don't vote. It has to do with what the law says, and it is in the charter. The other, I told you once, and I'm not going to tell you again. That charter was there. Those two items, the other items, has nothing to do with what that was. They wasn't brought up to bring that during the charter. Nobody brought it up. That citizens that was sitting on there, sir. So that's what it is, the charter. Now, if you want to vote and go against the charter, then sit here and vote for it that way. That's everybody's prerogative. It says it will be decided by the city commission. And that's what it's supposed to be. Now, you can sit there and make all kind of innuendos you want to. I heard them all before during the election, bunches of them. But the citizens did vote, and they'll vote again come the next time it runs. And that's what it's supposed to be. And they will get a vote again. Nobody's stopping anybody from voting. But that was brought up tonight because what they found in here. I didn't bring it up. Somebody outside the citizens did. But that's what the charter says. If you don't live by that charter, then you don't need to be up here sitting up here voting. All right. And even what Commissioner Hart said, it is, he might not want, he's up here, it's temporary. But that's not, it's nothing to do, what you said is not what I believe in. I believe in that charter. We're sitting up here and you're sitting up here to go by what the charter says, whether it be Commissioner Oliver or anybody. So, anybody else got any comments? Because we're going to have to vote on it. So, comments. You already commented.
I want to respond to that, just.
George?
That's the reason I brought it up.
Commissioner Oliver?
Because people ask me,
Get him.
and
Hey,
never mind, I'm sorry I engaged with you, you won't let me speak.
No.
I'm trying to be
he
polite,
don't know how
you
to
won't
learn to
let
be
me.
quiet. All right, Commissioner Oliver.
Mayor and commissioners, you know, I didn't know how I was going to feel walking back in this room when I walked through the door, but I did see a few friendly faces, and I felt good walking back in. So I'm going to say this. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. That was George Santiago said that. And unfortunately, we keep repeating the past over and over and over again. Over 100 years ago, there was 268 citizens that was disenfranchised, and they lost their right to vote. It's okay, because we remember it. We do remember it. We remember this. You read the
Tilton.
Mayor. You read the proclamation.
Stop just a minute.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Tilton, you do it one more time, you're going to be going out. Just be quiet. Thanks, sir. All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
So in parallel, we read a proclamation about voter disenfranchisement. And 100 years ago, 268 people were disenfranchised. Some even lost their lives just to vote or try to vote. And here we are, 100 years later, we're still perpetuating a stigmatism of voter disenfranchisement. When we went against the charter, when at least 4 of you went against the charter that clearly stated that an election should have been held, whether I was qualified or not, that election should have been held June 13th. But it wasn't held because it was an interpretation that was made by an attorney who had the influence over the commission. So even though the attorney gives his interpretation of what he thinks it should be, but it also has a very heavy influence upon that commission because they're hearing it one-sided. Because if this was a court of law, you would have heard one interpretation from one side and you would have heard another interpretation from another side. And it would have been left to a judge to determine which interpretation was correct. In this case right here, we're making our commission the judge, the jury, and the executioner. This is what we're doing. Someone asked me, they said, George, how do you feel about the things that was said and done or tried to do to you during this past election? Do you have an acrimonious or bitter feeling about what was done and what was said? And my reply was simply no. I'm better. Because sometimes you have to feel the sting of defeat in order to understand your purpose and who you are and what you're really fighting for. So again, I embrace the loss, but it has recharged me to represent over 9,000 residents that have been disenfranchised at least twice. They created, well,
That's
I'm
it,
sorry.
Commissioner, you're done.
All right.
I will say, before we
Thank
get
you for
in-
your time.
It has to always come to 1920, which has nothing to do with this charter tonight. Nothing. This has nothing to do with 1920, but that's what it always is. You know, and nobody got disenfranchised back in the election. It was an open, public election. It done by, and nobody said anything, I didn't say anything, but I had plenty of people saying stuff to me before that came here and told us about how much they hated us, how much they hated the city, but they didn't seem to win with their groups or what they're saying. It didn't happen. The citizens voted. Yeah, the citizens get the vote. 63% of them voted to change it. But here's the thing, if you don't want to vote with that charter, you sit up here and you don't want to go by what the charter says, then don't do it. But if you want to live by the charter, then you better live by the charter. And I didn't bring it up tonight, somebody else did. And I'm telling you, it all goes back just like it did before. It's all got to be what it just brought up, about 1920. It has nothing to do. You don't go back and do mistakes that happened 100 years ago. That is not happening here. Things have been peaceful, things have been doing good. We've been doing the things we're supposed to do. But it don't matter how many times you do it. It's always going to be brought up by him. Always. So we're here to live by what the charter says now, not what somebody did 102 years ago, 103 years ago. So the commissioners up here know full well what the charter says and what it's supposed to do. I don't care. I'm going to vote for what the charter says. And it ain't got anything to do, and it doesn't say there the color of the person on that charter. It doesn't say the color. It says what you're supposed to do. So if you don't want to do that, then you don't need to be here. All right, go ahead.
I'll be happy to make some comments.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brad.
I'll wait until,
Getting hot in here.
I'm gonna take your jacket off.
Brad Lomnick, Veronica Place. So, I attended every charter review meeting. I think I may have missed one. I was pretty much the only person in the public there the entire time. It's the place, if somebody wants to have a word about the charter, that's when they should have been there. Nobody was there. I was there every time. I asked a lot of questions. One of the questions I asked pointedly to the Attorney Geller was about the C-17. It was specifically, I gave a question and it was answered. And the question was, let's use it. Should Commissioner Oliver be able to succeed himself in this election? My understanding is, and I will ask Mr. Geller to go ahead and say it again because I'm a little confused now about what's happened tonight. I believe it was on the record as well. It's in the minutes that he cannot succeed himself and he should not qualify for 2024. The time was to ask that in the Charter Review Commission because I asked it to make sure that if that wasn't the case, it needed to be put in to be voted for in this next time when we do these charter reviews. It's not, it's already there. So I'll ask again, Attorney Geller, if Commissioner Oliver were to put in his qualification paperwork, would he qualify for this election coming up to fill the remaining year of the District 4 seat? Can I have my time
Would you like
stopped,
me to answer
please?
that?
No, what you did.
You want me to answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, my
What the
My,
charter.
my understanding of the charter, of the specific language, the successor shall serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy, is that that sentence is referring to two different people. And the common understanding of a successor as a matter of law in contracts that are entered into every single day is that the successor is someone else. And one can accept or not accept what a law dictionary says, but in this case, the most used legal dictionary says a successor is a person who succeeds to the office, rights, responsibilities, or place of another, one who replaces or follows another. And so that guides my interpretation of C-17.
So I'm not a lawyer and I'm not that smart, so I want to just kind of put it in common language, common man's terms, meaning that George Oliver resigned the seat. The successor would be the interim person, and then the person that is voted in
That's not-
24.
Mr. Lomnick, I think you have that incorrect. First, there is an interim commissioner who is
Correct.
appointed. And then within 1 year, there must be either a general or a special election at which the successor is then elected to serve for the unexpired term of the member who created the vacancy.
And in 2025, when the next full term, George Oliver could run for that seat.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to move on because my time's waning. I would say there needs to be a process in place, and if there's a qualification period from Friday to Friday, and the city and the commission want to be the arbiter of who qualifies and who doesn't, there should be a special meeting held that Friday night after qualification period is over. The commission should meet in chambers in the public. They should go over every qualified candidate to verify their qualification for their name to be put on the ballot. If that ends on Friday, December 7th, that meeting should be that night. So, thank you. That's a process.
All right. Let's wrap this up.
Anyone else?
Either got to vote on it or.
I'll make some comments. That's, okay, just gonna make some, addressing some of the issues that came up tonight. First of all, there was a question saying that our attorney has influence over us. I have not spoke to the attorney probably in a month here. This is probably the only time I've had contact with our attorney, so I have not been, should I say, swayed by anything that was said by the attorney. This is my first time hearing what the attorney had to say. I believe that we abide by the charter. Yes, it was brought up about the city manager not living in the city, but if someone recalls, those were exceptions made because of the recession. So, but that, please,
It's actually, the code says that after the current city manager, the city manager must live in the city.
correct.
That's correct.
And,
Yes.
Chris, I appreciate, but I believe we listened. Let us have a moment here, okay? The other aspect is that when I'm listening to this and I'm trying to evaluate it, and when you resign from a position, we're saying the charter says that if you resigned, you don't run again for the finish of that term. And that is what I'm gathering from this tonight, is that when you have vacated that position, and it was mentioned the mayor, he vacated his seat of District 3. Sorry, I have to remember what my number's here. He vacated the position of District 3. He signed a form, resigned to run, and he could not come back in that position, if I'm correct.
Right.
When that all happened. And you have not gone back into that seat.
Nope.
You could, probably at one
No.
other time, I don't think so, but I understand the questions they've been asked, but I also believe that when we have a charter, we have to abide by it. And if that's the way the attorney's interpreting it, and I'm listening to that, and it's making sense to me that you resign that position, the next time you run for that position would be when the full term comes up in 2025. So that's where I'm tending to go. I'm willing to listen to what any other commissioners, that's what we have. We have something called the Sunshine Law. We don't discuss any of this with other fellow commissioners, or members of the commission, excuse me, until we sit up here. So this is where our chance is to comment, debate, and listen. So I'm willing to listen to what others have to say at this point, but I did want to make it clear. I've had no comments or no discussion with our attorney.
All right, you done?
Yes, I am. Thank
Anybody
you.
else before we try to make a motion?
I'll make a comment and I'll make the motion. I think it's obvious that we were put in a situation that nobody likes. We were put in that situation from the logistics of former Commissioner Oliver resigning to run for mayor and not doing so in time for whatever technical reasons, to have the election for his seat concurrent with the last election. I'm making a good faith attempt, and I think this commission has made a good faith attempt to abide by the law, which is our role. We're not judges. We're not a jury. Our role is to implement the charter. I brought this up, as it says, because I've been asked. As there was discussion during the charter review, it was asked, I've been asked by many people, what is the procedure? I asked what the procedure is. I brought up Commissioner Oliver, frankly, just out of common courtesy. If you're going to talk about it, you at least owe the man to do it in public. It's just my opinion. The accusations, the false accusations, the slurs, the race baiting. My first thought was, I thought, well, I didn't ask for that. And then I told myself, well, yes, you did. When you threw your hat in the ring and you ran for the commission, you asked to be in this seat. You asked to take that. In my opinion, it's clear. It's an opinion. It's my opinion, and I'm asked to vote for my opinion. It's clear that Commissioner Oliver resigned to run. He created the vacancy, and there should be an election in March of 2024 to fill that vacancy. And he would not be qualified to fill that vacancy, but he would certainly be qualified to run in March of 2025 to try to gain another term. Having listened to the discussion and read the charter, that's my opinion, and that would be my motion and my vote.
All right, need a second. You made a motion, you need a second.
Sorry, it's not going on. I'll second that.
Motion's made and second. Any more discussion? Before we vote, I'm gonna say it again. I don't care who you are, what you are. You know, everybody brings up things that happened 8 months ago. Listen, it's been a peaceful 8 months. But I knew when I signed the paper 8, 9 years ago to give up my seat that I couldn't run for it again, but by the charter. But it seems like we're supposed to change the rules around because somebody's gonna intimidate you by saying stuff and somebody else is gonna intimidate you by saying stuff. That's not the way it works. And I'm telling you again, you sit up here and you take an oath. You take an oath to do what you're supposed to do by what the law says in that charter. So if you don't think you want to do this job, then so be it. That charter says what we're supposed to do when you swear to oath up here on this counter, no matter who you are. I don't care what comments are made or not made. Believe me, there was a lot of comments made before the election ever happened, folks. You can pull all of them up if you'd like to. But I'm telling you, as the mayor, I'm telling you, I don't care who you are, what you say, this thing says you cannot do that, and that's what that says. Nobody changed that, put in to change that. That wasn't even online then. Somebody said it. But so, we need a motion's made, to go with the charter, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Do anybody else have any more comments? All right, you're gonna vote.
I hope that we explain yes and no, so.
Yes goes with the motion to go with the charter. No means to go against the charter. All right, Commissioner Hart voted no. Commissioner Wilson, yes. Kennedy, yes. I voted yes, and Mr. Firstner voted yes. All right. All right. On the back page, comments from commissioners. Commissioner Firstner. I changed it around.
Good. She always beats
Yeah, I
me
know,
to the
that's-
punch.
I'll keep my list off here.
Don't forget Veterans Day ceremony, November 9th. That's this Thursday at 11 a.m. at the Lakeshore Center. Please come out and honor the veterans. They deserve your honor. Next up is Family Movie Night on Friday, November 17th. That's a week from Friday. Bilbreeze Park, what time does that normally start?
It's from 6 PM to 10 PM.
6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Would you like that so that
Thank you,
I don't steal
Commissioner.
your,
No.
I don't-
I tell you what, I'll save the Jolly Jamboree for you, okay? And that's all I have.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hart.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and once again, I was so excited to see the great work being done on Clark Road. I told my daughters I'm gonna moonwalk the entire renovation of Clark Road when it's done. They told me, Daddy, you made a promise that you wouldn't embarrass us again, and also too, your ankles probably couldn't hold up, so I better find a better way. Maybe I'll take a brisk, crisp walk instead. I had a great time at the Halloween event, a record crowd. I was hanging out with the mayor, being cool, and all those kids who look so cute and so adorable. I'm so glad we didn't have to judge. We were smart. We decreased and let the ladies judge it, but they did a great job. Once again, it proves that Ocoee is a city of families. We had it, it was packed, and I had a great time. Day of Remembrance was beautiful. The speaker was motivated. So great to see the families that were excited about Unity Park, and it proves that there is a healing balm in Ocoee. And Ocoee is moving into the right direction. And it's that time of year, gang. It's that time for Thanksgiving, and all the turkeys are going to be afraid. Please make sure when you're grilling, when you're frying your turkey outside, use proper techniques. Once again, Fire Prevention Month taught us that most fires at home are done by cooking, so please use proper techniques. And if you have some leftover turkey, please remember me. Also, too, is the great religious holiday known as college football. My Florida A&M Rattlers, who have only lost one game all year, will face the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, who've only won one game all year. Oh, did I mention that? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. And then there's this little thing between some folks in Gainesville and some folks in Tallahassee, the Florida FSU battle. It's going to be a great time. I know citizens will stop talking to one another for a little while, but after the game, we're going to come back together as a family. So thank God for each and every one of you. And remember, we are blessed to live in a great city. I had a privilege between meetings to walk around Unity Park and walk down to the fishing dock, and it felt so blessed to live in a city like Ocoee. I want to say a special thanks to my best friend in life, my wife, Lorraine Hart. We'll be married 30 years, November 27th at 4:45 p.m. The wedding was at 4 o'clock. I had to wait 45 minutes, but she was worth the wait. And there is another young couple here who I won't point out, but they're celebrating 51 years. I tried to catch up with them, but they keep running. Slow down so I can catch up with you. So once again, a great time and I just want to say, if you're making home improvements, please, 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 check with the city first. I know you see things on YouTube, you see things on home improvement, you want to do them, you want to fix your house up, but if you do it without a permit, we're going to have a problem. So please make sure you check with the city first before you make that house so great that everybody in the family is jealous. And on a personal note, I have done a lot of praying, a lot of asking God's direction on where I should go with my next step in life. This is a great opportunity and a great city to serve. But I have 4 of my most precious gifts in college. My daughter Ashley is in the University of Florida, working on a PhD in computer science. My wife Lorraine is working on a doctoral degree in education. My daughter Brittany, my twin with the same birthday, is finishing up her undergrad at the University of South Florida. She's trying to get into med school. And my youngest daughter Caitlin is at the University of Central Florida, who, when she was younger, she wanted to be a princess. She probably will be one day. She's working in animation. So my schedule is tight, so I will not be running for the election in March 2024. I really want to, but my schedule is so tight that I can't put the time into it, but I am looking forward to running in 2025. And if you're interested in running, I tell you this is a great honor. It's an honor to serve. I'm also a pastor, as you know, and I see this as a form of community service. And I always say, as Jesus told his disciples, feed the flock. Feed the flock, serve the community. Don't feast on the flock, feed the flock. This has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with race. It's about character. And I've been in situations where I worked as a pharmacist in Walgreens. I worked in Inverness, Crystal River, Homosassa. People told me how it was before segregation came on, the good old days. Somebody told me they didn't want this blank person filling their prescriptions. They didn't realize I was one of those persons they were talking about. So I know what it is to go into a hostile environment. And you know how you win people? You love them. You love them, and you do your job. And you follow the rules. You know the rules like the back of your hand. And if you keep loving people, if you keep doing your job, things will change. But name calling, attacks on the internet, that's not how you do it. Jesus said, feed my flock. Love them. God bless you. Have a great day. Take care.
Good job. Commissioner Wilson. He don't get a second chance. Commissioner Wilson.
I have to say that you are a tough act to follow. And I honestly appreciate everything you have to say. So thank you. And I also want to thank you and Mrs. Hart for Saturday night at the Survivors Dinner.
Oh, yeah.
You both were great, so thank you
tell them
so
about
much.
that,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something? Okay, I won't say anymore.
No,
Our,
we can all say it.
sir, again, you did wonderful. I was so impressed, so thank you so much. I was impressed with the dinner also. I also would like to be in that prorated share for the Ocoee High School. I believe advocacy and our legislative issues are very important. I appreciate you going up. I serve on both the Florida League of Cities and the Tri-County League of Cities, and advocacy is so important, and starting with our youth is so important, because it's sometimes hard to motivate adults. And if we can start with you and have a voice, because when legislature gets in session, I'm sorry, some of the things they do are beyond my imagination. And if we just had folks that would just comment and say and call and make their comments to our legislators to tell them that we don't appreciate it. They've done things that I just shake my head, and one of them is code enforcement. And if anyone knows that, code enforcement it gets to me, because now you have to leave your name and address. So your neighbor knows who told on them.
Yep.
And it's, to me, it just pits neighbor against neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done some of these things which I don't understand why, so I appreciate, please, go up, learn, and be advocacy is so important. Let's see. I had some notes here. Hope I don't miss something. So I would like to be included in that. On a lighter side, on December 9th, we're going to be having the Jolly Jamboree here, starting at, let me get my hours here, 2:30 to about 8. The lighting of the tree will be at 7 o'clock. We're going to have music during the event. There's going to be a dog parade and dog judging, and the mayor wants a golf cart parade, which we have to still have our meeting, so we're
Golf
working on.
cart, not
Golf
dog
cart.
park.
What did I say?
I think you said dog park.
No, dog. I'm very proud of our dog park, but I didn't mean to bring that in right now. I'm sorry. Golf cart parade. So these are things that we'll be working on, but there are brochures in the lobby, and you'll see them on the internet. It's going to be a fun time. It was a fun time last year, and it'll be a fun time this year. So please, come down, enjoy the downtown. There'll be food trucks, different activities going on. You'll have to meet Mrs. and Santa Claus and Mrs. Santa Claus, because I won't say who it is that's sitting here, but at the Withers McGuire House. And again, the Withers McGuire House, anyone who has not seen it decorated, it's absolutely gorgeous. Keith does a wonderful job. It's a great time. Come down and take pictures with your family or yourself. But the tree is, everything looks beautiful, so please come down. I'm trying, just sorry, making sure that. Also, tonight we reappointed and appointed members to our advisory board. Great time. Look at the internet and find out which advisory boards have openings. Great way to meet your neighbors and find out what's going on in the city. So please, that's an opportunity. I started out with the Park and Recreation Board 25 years ago, I think. And look where I am now. But, and again, it's been enjoyable. All those years I spent with the advisory board were enjoyable, and I got to meet so many folks in the city and learn what's going on, which again, somewhat brought me here. So, again, Ocoee High School. These seats, you're gonna become 18 and get older. These seats are something maybe you want to venture on. So, please. I think that was it. I don't think did I miss anything?
Did you tell them all about the Jamboree thing?
The Jolly Jamboree, yes. On
Okay.
December 9th, right here, in front of City Hall. And so it's gonna be fun. I'm excited, so please come down. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kennedy.
First, I want to reference Dr. Moyer's comments about the HRDB. I attended that in the audience, and that was probably the best HRDB meeting I've ever seen. Tonight, as Commissioner Wilson mentioned, we appointed a new member to the HRDB that I know will be a tremendous asset, and the work that they're doing, the direction that they're taking is tremendous. I know they have some questions for us, and Mr. Moore will be bringing things about their new mission, and they're doing some promotion and engaging with the community, and I totally support what they're doing, and I totally support their request for DEI training. I attended, my wife and I also attended Ocoee Remembers Descendants Dinner Saturday night. It was awesome. It was really great. The keynote speaker was fantastic. High Point Church, the volunteers were fantastic. Their group is just wonderful. And the Ocoee Youth Council also was there, or members there, serving food. Great young people. Really had a wonderful evening, and so thank the Youth Council for volunteering as well. And I talked to them as I went through the line. I was asking them, did you hear about our formal scholarship program? So we need to get that in writing, please. Another thing that I want to mention is the Ocoee Police Department is having a toy drive. They're working with Walmart and 103.1 Radio. They will be at the Walmart at Colonial on November 18th from 10 to 2, and you can donate a new wrap toy. Their promotion is called Stuff the Police Car. So we support the police and fire department. They do great things, and our police department is very active in the community, and we love them for that. Those are all my comments. Thank you.
Rob, do you have a date for the Christmas lights to go up? And are we gonna make sure they're working?
Yeah, as we do every year, we get assured by the power company that they've checked everything, and it's usually one of a couple different things, but as soon as you notice them, if you tell us which poles, we can make sure. I think last year was one of the better ones where we had like 95% come on in the beginning. I don't know the exact date, Mayor. I'll get that, and I can email you all tomorrow so you'll know when they're gonna go up. I know it's gonna be soon, though.
All right, we have no meeting on November the 21st. Then we have a meeting on December the 5th, and no meeting on the 19th, right? We do, or do we want to?
As of right now, you still have the meeting on the 19th of December.
Do we need to do that, or?
If that's something you all wanted to do.
Those are the holidays for Christmas, anybody? Ho, ho, ho. Huh?
Oh, no.
You don't want it? All right, just consensus,
ho.
close it. Oh,
No,
oh,
yeah.
oh. No. Okay, so I guess we're closed on the 21st of, 19th of December also. I want to make a couple comments about some of the stuff tonight. One of the things I want to make a comment in my 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. Ooh. Was it 10 minutes on that?
5.
Oh, 5? Okay. Melanie, thank you for Saturday night serving the food. I appreciate it. Good seeing you there, and it was great. I rushed back to get back there to be at that, and I'd asked Commissioner Hart to give the welcome for the city, and he did an excellent job. His wife, I think it was an honor having you and your wife. Your wife served on the diversity board also for us, and I think it was an honor having you there and doing what you did. So once again, thank you. You did a great job. I will say that Rob Frank was hired back 18 years ago?
No, it's 19 and a half.
19 and a half years ago, and when he was hired, he was given the permission to stay where he was at. He had just bought a house. We made the decision on this board to do that, and it was not in the charter. So now it's going to be in the charter that whoever gets the new job will have to live in the city. So it wasn't his doings, it was ours, whoever was sitting here 19 years ago. So, and besides that, he's done one of the best jobs. What's our credit rating now?
As of today, it went from AA minus to AA, so it went up a notch as of today, Mayor.
Once again, the city's done a great job. The city has, our employees are constantly doing things, and it's working for this city and working for the citizens. I will say that the sidewalks are getting worked on again. We all know what the problem is with sidewalks, pushing trees up and all that, so we're back. We spent right at $400,000 on the end of last year to get it started, and we're working with it again, trying to get the sidewalks finished. I will say again that some of that's our fault, and I will tell you, we take the blame, because over the years, we made people put the trees out in the road where the right-of-way was and where the power lines are. You'll see these trees chopped off and everything gone. That was our fault, because we required it. So now we need to change that and put something where there's not going to be that kind of problem. But once again, I want everybody to know that the mayor's cart parade, golf cart parade, the mayor's golf cart.
The mayor, is that what we're going to title it, Mayor's
Yeah,
Golf Cart?
yeah. How about a new one?
Okay. I'll bring it.
I had an old one, but it had a deer head on it. My wife wouldn't ride in it.
I'll bring that to the meeting. We're having a meeting this week.
So I sold it to Brad. But I want to thank the citizens for coming out tonight. We thank Westmere for showing up, and you need to try again. You know, it's fun politicking sometimes. Sometimes it's not. So, yeah, well, that's what I say. You got to get out there and try. Once again, thank you, and Commissioner Hart, and all you guys, happy Thanksgiving. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. All right, thank you.